Okay, so the first movie of Phase 3 was Captain America Civil War. And this movie came out in, was it May of 2016, so I was already about a year out of college. And I most recently watched it on January 7th, 2019. Some of the quotes or moments that stood out is Vision is proposing our very strength incites challenge. Challenge incites conflict. And conflict breeds catastrophe. Another good one was when Peggy Carter is quoting, no, sorry, Sharon Carter is quoting her Aunt Peggy, and she says, compromise where you can, and where you can't, don't. Even if everyone is telling you that something is wrong, is something right. Even if the whole world is telling you to move, it is your duty to plant yourself like a tree, look them in the eye, and say, no, you move. Another one, when Wanda is kind of talking to Vision about how she feels, she says, I used to think of myself as one way, but after this, I am something else. And still me, I think, but that's not what everyone else sees. And I just take a moment to acknowledge that helicopter pull by Captain America. I have never felt so insecure about my arms. It actually makes me want to develop my arms in a fitness level. That's kind of it. It's nothing major, just kind of a small vanity thing, and I was impressed by Captain America's arms and shoulders. His nice arms and shoulders. Clint to Wanda, just good general everyday advice. You want to make amends, you get off your ass. The words said before both teams go at it. What do you do, Cap? We fight. And then the other side says, they're not stopping, neither are we. There's a small moment that I really liked. I don't know if it was a direct thing or if it was like coincidental, but when Captain America is facing off with Spider-Man, he says, you got heart, kid, and he asks where he's from, and he says, Queens. And then Steve kind of has like a smirk and like a small chuckle, and he says, Brooklyn. And I feel like that was reminiscent of the first movie when Red Skull asks Steve where he's from, and he says, nothing, he's just a kid from Brooklyn. So I think that was like a small heart-to-heart moment between those two characters, even though they're fighting, even though they don't really know each other on a personal level. Again, I'm not sure if that was directly, like, supposed to be a direct parallel to the first movie, but it's just something that stood out, and it was like a nice moment. On to the main, focus of this movie and this reflection. For me, and this is probably going to be one of my more metaphorical interpretations or analyses or reflections, it's when Tony Stark is fighting Steve Rogers. Iron Man versus Captain America. At the time I was working with my therapist. I showed my therapist this scene, and they were kind of startled by it. Not because of what it meant, but it was a very intense scene. I think when I first showed it to my therapist, something about it really spoke to me. It really hit me, and I'm not really sure what it was. Every time I think about it, it keeps changing, and but it's still along the same lines. And at the time when I first saw it, I kind of felt like it just represented what it was like to try to live or try to be alive, and that if you look at that fight, at the end of it, no one wins. No one wins that fight. At the end of it, they're both defeated. Tony realizes that the Avengers are now broken, and he's pretty much lost one of his best friends. Steve has to give up his shield and his symbolism as a hero. His best friend, Bucky, lost his arm again, and he's now a fugitive and is going to be on the run. Their exhaustion at the end reminds me of what it was like to live. Having to wake up every day, get out of bed to just be normal, to go out or to do work, go to work, even just to have fun. Like, I kind of wish I always had that feeling. I just want to stay in bed all day and do nothing, even though I knew it was like unproductive, and it's just easier to just stay in bed. And I kind of mentioned how the interpretation kind of changes because at first maybe the tension represented what it was like, or the tension in the fight kind of represented what it was like to try to live every day, or but then it started to develop into other ideas. I was thinking, like, was I Iron Man fighting the life that I want to live, represented by Captain America, or was the general idea of two forces or entities fighting, representing what it's like to fight, depression and just the everyday weight of trying to live, or and then I see a few things that kind of add to my interpretations, and one of those was Captain America kind of represents the person that we want to be, kind of like our ideals, and then Iron Man kind of represents the person we are, flaws and all. So then it's kind of like two things inside of me we're trying to fight. To this day, I'm still not sure what it really means to me. Maybe it was cathartic. Maybe it means nothing. Maybe it means everything. And it's my duty. It's my job. It's kind of part of my purpose to figure out what it is I'm supposed to do, and how I'm supposed to fight it and try to live my life. I feel like none of that makes sense right now. Crap. Yeah, those two things will always be in conflict for me, and I continue to deal with it. I continue to deal with the repercussions of how I used to be and how I felt before and how I feel now. Sometimes I wish I could just stay in bed all day and do nothing, but keep trying anyway. I don't know why. Something inside of me says otherwise.